Welcome to the Perfect Seam Allowance with Nina McVeigh.
Are you having trouble getting your quilt blocks to come out to the size they are supposed to be? Let me share some helpful hints with you to help you with your piecing. First, before you even cut your quilt pieces, you will want to stabilize your fabric. It may seem that stabilizing your fabric has nothing to do with a perfect seam, but whether you use a sizing like Best Press or a spray starch, your fabric will have more body, making it easier to cut accurately and easier to stitch accurately. At the machine, there are some things you can do to get a more perfect stitch. First, attach a straight stitch throat plate. With machine stitching wider and wider today, and all you need is a straight stitch, why not provide a small hole in the throat plate for a more perfect stitch? And if you have ever had trouble with fabric being sucked down into that large needle opening, this will help with that as well. With the straight stitch throat plate on the machine, note the markings on the plate. Locate the quarter seam marking. Here you see the marking in front of the feed dog, and it continues onto the feed dog itself. The other thing you will want to do when you put the straight stitch throat plate on is input the information by going to the security program and selecting the correct plate. This will help you from breaking needles in the event you forget you have a single hole. Using the correct foot will also make a difference in your piecing. Select either the patchwork foot number 37 or 37D if you have a machine with dual feed, or the patchwork foot with guide number 57 or 57D. With this foot on the machine, you can see that the edge of the foot lines up with the quarter-inch markings. Actually, if you look real close, it is to the left of the markings, so that the quarter-inch line is still visible. If you have a machine with dual feed, be sure to engage the dual feed mechanism. Begin by placing your fabric under the foot so that the edge where you will begin to piece is to the back of the plate. This way you know you are starting on fabric and not air. And because it is a single hole, your fabric will not go down into the needle opening. Position the seam edge of the fabric so you can still see the quarter-inch marking on the throat plate. If you cover the marking, your seam will be too wide. As you sew, you want to watch in front of the foot at the small quarter-inch marking, and you want to be sure you can see the mark. Don't worry about the edge of the foot. As you piece one piece, continue by placing the next piece under the foot. No need to lift the foot, just keep feeding the pieces in. You have now established your perfect scant quarter seam, just scant enough to allow for the thread in the seam. When you have finished piecing a block, it should be the exact size it was meant to be. No more blocks that are too big or too small. The patchwork foot is also very valuable when matching points in a pieced block. Let's take a look at piecing half-square triangles. You will use the markings on the throat plate for your perfect scant quarter seam as you did before, chain piecing as you go. When you have finished piecing and pressing all seams in the same direction, you will begin to sew the half-square triangles together. Pressing the seams in one direction actually helps in the next step as the seams lock together. Begin as before. When the needle is at the seam line, as you see here, stop. Look at the side of the presser foot. You will see 3 markings. These markings are 1/4 inch apart. The center one should be even with the needle. The back one should be even with the edge of the fabric. If they line up as they should, you are going to get a perfect point. After sewing 2-piece squares together twice, you are ready to seam them together for a block. Once again, let the seams lock together. As you sew, you will stop when the needle hits the seam line and check to see that the raw edge of the seam is even with the back 1/4 inch mark. On the back side, wiggle the seams until they open and let them fan out and press. This will eliminate bulk. Turn your block over and look at how perfect the points are. Now, stopping and checking as we did when piecing this block is not something I do with every single block, but doing this will make you more aware of how things line up. So as you become more and more accurate, you will not need to check every block. So in conclusion, remember these few helpful hints for perfect seaming. Use a spray starch or sizing, a straight stitch throat plate to perfect the stitch, a patchwork foot. Make sure you can see the 1/4 inch marking and that you are not covering it up. And use the markings on the side of the foot for perfect points. And I hope you have happy, accurate piecing.